Morning E3, and welcome to another demo of Rifts, Planes, and Telara. Today we'll be giving you a quick tour of the world and telling you a little bit more about our class system. So we're going to start today showing the Defiance. First we're going to run through character creation. As you can see, there are a number of races available. Right here we're showing the 3 Defiant races. The Guardians also have 3 races for a total of 6. The next section we're going to show you is your class choices. Initially, you choose an Ascended Soul. It's what you kind of restore to life as. It's one of 4 archetypes: Warrior, Cleric, Mage, or Rogue. These kind of set the tone for what your class is going to be in the future in the game. The final section is character creation itself, where we customize the character. Obviously, we have a number of different options, including facial morphs, age sliders, hair, beard, tattoos, and color. So Billy just made a character, but we're going to hop in as a pre-made because it gives us a couple of special GM powers that allow us to jump around the world. So the first zone we're showing is Shadowlands. Shadowlands is the Defiant starting area. As sieged by Regulus in the Force. The dead are streaming out through the Soul Stream, where they're being captured here in Shadowlands by Defiant machinery. These souls are being restored, reborn into Ascended Telarans. Telarans with supernatural powers, of which we'll get into a little bit more later. The next section we're going to be going to is Pre-March. As you see, there'll be a number of loading screens during this demo. This isn't actually how the game works. The game is seamless. You will not get loading screens. However, since we're jumping from area to area, you'll see a couple loads in between. As you can see, Pre-March looks completely different than Shadowlands. We're actually on Telara now. We have a rich and vibrant world. Off in the distance, you see the city of Meridian, which is the Defiant headquarters. Actually, in this particular case, you see a life rift invading as well. We'll talk a little bit more about life rifts and dynamic events in just a minute. But let's first go to Meridian. So here we are in the College of Planar Studies. This is the heart of Meridian. This is where the Defiants kind of study the planes. They see what their enemies are doing, they harness the power, and they use it to power their arcane machinery. As you can see, this area is a very large, expansive area. Players are going to meet and do social activities in this area, such as the manufacturer where crafting occurs. The other section of Meridian we wanted to show you is Orpheal's Spire. This is the area of the most technology. This is where Orpheal, the leader of the Defiants, actually resides. At the top of this tower, we have a giant planar telescope, which we'll see in just a moment. As you can see, these kind of arcane technologies give the Defiants the edge. They can peer between the veil, between Telara and the planes, to see what's going on the other side and plan their battle plan accordingly. The final section of Meridian we're showing today is the training ground. While the training ground itself is not a terribly interesting area, it does give us the backdrop to talk about something really stupendous. We'll talk about our class system here. So like I mentioned before, the player is an Ascended. An Ascended soul has been reborn from death. Death holds nothing over them. It gives them a number of special powers, including Soul Attunement, which is the class system. If you're familiar with other MMOs and RPG, you'll see that these trees are very familiar. This is called the Soul Tree. The top portion of the tree is where players spend soul points to purchase abilities and traits, kind of custom to the way they'd like to play. The lower section is the root. The root of the soul tree are automatic abilities that are granted to you as your soul level increases. From normal MMOs is the fact that we allow more than one soul tree. In fact, we allow players to have up to 3 souls attuned at a single time, and that doesn't necessarily be the same soul you started with. As you adventure through Telara, you'll discover new and more powerful souls, each with a unique role and purpose. So Rogue, which is generally a high DPS class or a high DPS calling, there may be souls that allow you to do things out of the magic spells or even potentially tank encounters. So Billy, let's hop and show a little more content. The next area we're going to show is Stonefield. So Billy's respected clinging spells as well as using close combat attacks. He's going to fight through this area a little bit. I'd like to point out our monsters are also has a different type of monster in a different environment. These are trolls and trogs. As you know, we have fantasy style monsters, but it's our own like this in any other game. Actually, off in the distance, we actually see a tear. This gives me a good opportunity to talk about dynamic. So a tear is the kind of weakening of the veil between Telara and the plains. These signature areas say that an event may happen here soon. So the player has a choice: let it happen on its own, or force a tear to open and see what comes out the other side. Let's open up that. All right, so as you can see, we were in Stonefield. Stonefield has now been invaded by the Plane of Light. This is actually the game world. Other players are playing here. This is not the world has changed. So one of the things about it's dynamically social. Well, dynamic and social, I can say. No two events are necessarily of a life rift this time. It may be a death rift next time, or a fire rift, earth rift, air rift, or water rift as well. From a very long distance away. They are obviously noticeable, just like our stage. And just like you got drawn to our E3 booth, players get drawn to these events in the world. As such, we've designed them to be very socially oriented. While you can complete them solo, if you do it with a group of players, you'll be able to push the event farther, and everybody gets a better reward as a result. Alright, so the final part of our tour is to show one of our instances. Billy's about to zone into Deep Strike Mines. This is one of the loading screen. Why? Because this is a private custom instance for you. Deep Strike Mines is for about 5 players, so you and 4 of your friends can come here and play through this area. It's thematically built. In this particular case, it's a mine that's overrun by the One of the really nice things is Rift is a dynamic world. I say this over and over again because it is very important. We want players to traverse the world multiple times and see new things as they kind of move back and forth between areas. This holds true for even dungeons. Right now, Billy's a slightly lower level, let's say around level 25. When he experiences this one way, he'll come back at level 50 and have a new experience. There'll be new encounters, new storyline, new quests, new things to overcome. Not even the dungeons are static in Rift. Everything changes. Billy and I are both developers. We'll be here to answer questions after the demo. I would also like to point you over to Nations, the first MMORTS. Ah, you ruined it. He's taping it. Oh. Anyways, the first MMORTS of its type, and I really encourage you guys to check it out because it is quite awesome. Hate you.